Okay, so we've been sent a case. I don't have editing privileges as it was sent as a wrap and go. And we're looking at doing this case, or the dentist submitting it is looking at doing this case. So let's take a look and talk. So we're replacing, it looks like tooth number 12/13. Looks like patients had bicuspid extractions. So we're replacing a premolar. So typical starting point there is 4 by 10 in my book, and then that looks to be what we have planned here. But some of my areas of concern on this one are going to be this is where I see the bone, just like so. And what I'm concerned about is, let me change colors here. What I'm concerned about is this area right in here. You know how thin it is when we have so much space right here. Okay, so what I would prefer to do in this scenario is actually move the implant more centered in the ridge to allow my 1.5 millimeters here, making sure that I keep my 1.5 to 2 millimeters here. And my guess is that the reason that we moved this implant a little bit to the palatal there was to avoid the sinus right there. Okay, so that would be my guess. So we have a couple of choices here. One, we can go with the slightly shorter implant, okay, and move it to the center. Or two, we can continue with the implant sizing that we have and do a relatively straightforward sinus bump right here. Okay, because that's where my guess is going to be that we'll have to do the sinus bump. And so either option works. It's just a matter of what the comfort level is for the dentist prescribing this implant. And then the other thing I would also do is, just while I have everybody here, is I would take a look at this and see that that is where our implant alignment is, like this, to make sure that our 3D design on our CEREC side is correct. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at this. And one of the things I like to do in just evaluating my designs is to see here if it truly is need to be at the angle that we designed it at. And what I'm seeing here is that this cusp is higher than that cusp there. So more than likely that lingual cusp could be brought up. Again, I don't know what's going on underneath it and what the status is of that tooth, but my guess would be that, making it not quite angulated right in here. And the reason I bring that up is because kind of the way I like to look at this is if my tooth is angled like that, then what I want to do is I want to tip my implant that way to try to get more of an ideal positioning like that. And so if our cusp is actually right here, or where it should be, then our implant plan should be more like this, and then our line should really be more like that. Okay. Again, minor things that I look at since we have all the technology and going through all of this that way. The next thing that I would mention here, and this is a personal preference, is this particular implant can be sunk a little bit deeper to gain a little bit more of a platform switch and a subcrestal position to allow for slightly, let me get rid of all of this and then redraw here. Also to consider is, sorry, wrong button here. I apologize. To consider our emergence profile like so. And I'm not terribly in love with this emergence profile, and we may not have enough room uh, to develop that emergence profile. So we may be better off. Again, I don't, again, not having manipulation options here. We may be better off. Number one, that implant will probably end up being about right here. So we may be better off having a little bit more running room by placing the implant a bit more subcrestal, and that implant will probably be about right here, just like so. So that may be a little bit more realistic for us. Let's take a look at our buckle margin on this. And that would be the next question I have is what I'm looking at here is kind of like so. So that buckle margin does look pretty accurate. Those are just some of the things that I would look at in this particular case. But relatively straightforward. I would have zero issue doing a 4 by 10 or even a 3.5 by 10 in this particular situation. Um, and then doing a little bit of a sinus bump there. And going from there, I would have no issue as well with doing a 4 by 8.5 millimeter implant to either avoid the sinus or minimize how much bump we have to do, or to allow a subcrestal placement, so about a millimeter or so. So thanks for submitting the case, and we can talk about this a little bit later.